Welcome to this video about creating and managing actions using the Action Machine 3. Now, actions, or the things that you want to accomplish, are essential elements to using the Action Machine. And there are two types of actions that you can create. You can create one-time actions or repeated actions. So let's look at each of these in a little bit more detail. First of all, one-time actions. One-time actions are just as the name implies. They're actions that you'll likely only need to do once. These could be things like creating an eBay auction or fixing a screen door or something similar. So let's look at the procedure for creating timers from one-time actions. Okay, so first of all, in the Add an Action box, enter the number of minutes that you want to allot for the action followed by the name of the action. So as described in the Quick Start video, which hopefully you've watched by now, this entry should be in the format of time followed by the action. For example, 20, create eBay auction. Okay, so this will create a 20-minute timer labeled create eBay auction. Always be sure to enter the minute amount first, followed by a space, and then the name of the action. Now the length of time that you can allot right here for the action in minutes ranges from 1 to 479, which is 7 hours and 59 minutes. And this time is adjustable even after the timer has been created. So as you'll learn in the next section, working with timers. Now optionally, you can give each action a priority, low, medium, and high, by either adding 1, 2, or 3 asterisks before the action name. For example, to give the action in this step a medium priority, you would enter it in as 20 followed by 2 asterisks and a space, and then create eBay auction. Doing this will eventually cause an orange flag to appear on the timer when it's created from this action, which you'll see in just a second. Another optional feature is that you can click inside the Action Notes box here to include some notes for this particular action. So notes can contain tips, reminders, or any other kind of information related to this action that you might feel would be helpful when you're using it to take action. Now, in addition to standard text, notes can also include some basic HTML for formatting purposes. And some supported HTML tags include bold, italic, underline, numbered lists, bulleted lists, list items, and links. So I'm going to go ahead and click the the green button right here to create a timer from this action. And you can see that this automatically created a timer for this action with a orange flag indicating medium priority. Now, as you've seen, creating one-time actions is a quick and simple process. But for those actions that you perform on a regular, ongoing basis, you need a little bit more of a robust system, which we'll be looking at next. Let's talk about the Add an Action panel. Okay, so below the Add an Action box, you'll find a small arrow that when you place your mouse over it, it will reveal a panel known as the Add an Action panel. Now, as you can see, this panel contains 3 columns of links that will help you to quickly define various elements of an action, including its time, its priority, and a verb that represents maybe what you want to do with the action. So for example, if you want to spend 30 minutes organizing your office and it's of medium priority to you, then you would click the following links respectively: 30 minutes, followed by medium, followed by organize. And this would fill the Add an Action box with the beginnings of an action, and all you would need to do is add the word office to the end and press the Add an Action button to create a timer from this. Now, here are a few important things to keep in mind when using this particular panel. First of all, elements that you add to an action must follow this sequence: the time, priority, and verb. Okay, and this is the exact same sequence in which you'll find the elements listed on the panel itself: time, priority, and then verb. and that there's a space between each of these items when you add them to the Add an Action box. Now, you're not required to use all three elements when you're using the links on the panel. Just make sure that when you forego using a particular element that you maintain the sequence shown in the previous explanation for elements that you do use. For example, you can use time and then the verb, or priority and then a verb, but not priority time or verb priority, which is going backwards. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. And this is explained as well in the user's guide. So if you use the links on this panel to create the beginnings of an action and you maybe entered the sequence in wrong for some reason, we'll just come over here and click the clear button, which is the little circle with the X in it, and try it again. Alright, just go back and try to enter your information in again. And that is the Add an Action panel. Now let's talk about repeated actions. So some of the actions that you do in your life are things that you perform regularly. And these could be things such as checking your email, reading the news, planning your day, and so on. And because you perform these actions regularly or even daily, having to enter them into the action machine using the method described in the previous portion of this video about one-time actions, well, that would quickly become tedious and time-consuming, and that's not something you want from a productivity tool. So in order to make creating and managing repeated actions easier, the action machine makes use of action lists. Now action lists, let me go ahead and bring up a default action list right here. Now action lists are simply groups of actions, including notes, that are saved in the action machine from which you can quickly create timers, which will save you a lot of time and repeated keystrokes. Now the Action Machine 3 provides 50 different action lists that you can use to organize your various actions of your life into. Okay, and you can see those right here by clicking this little drop down box right here. And there are 50 custom action lists that you can create. So let's talk about creating timers from repeated actions. So the first step that you want to do is from the action list drop down box, we're going to go ahead and select I'm going to go ahead and select custom list 3. Okay, and when I do this, the action list will display will update to display any actions that are currently on this list. Now by default this list is empty. So the action list display should be clear of any actions. Now by selecting this action list and making it the current list, this means that any actions that we add, which we'll do in a moment, will be added to this particular list. Now before we add any actions, let's first rename this particular action list. Okay, so we'll click the button to the right of the action list drop down box to rename this current action list. So when you do this, a simple dialog box appears allowing you to edit the name of the current action list. So we'll give this action list a new name such as My Daily Actions. And we'll go ahead and click OK right here. And you'll see that the name of the current action list has been updated. So let's go ahead and begin adding some actions to it. In the Add an Action box, enter the name of the action such as check email. Now you'll notice that we've not included a time amount when entering this action as we did when creating one-time actions in the previous exercise. Now this is because actions that are added to the action list, thus that are used over and over again, can be assigned various times whenever the timers are created from them. And this will make more sense in a moment. Okay, so optionally, once again, you can come here to the action notes to include some notes with the action if you want. If not, then we'll just move on to the next step. And the next step is to click the Add an Action button to add this particular action to the current action list. And you'll see that the action that you entered has now been added to the top of the current action list. So let's add a few more actions to this action list. Okay, we'll repeat those steps for the following actions. Read the news, press the enter, then plan day, we'll add that's important, so we want to add 3 asterisks to indicate that that's a high priority item. And so now the action list should contain 3 actions, okay? And as we previously talked about, adding 1 to 3 asterisks to the name of an action will allow you to set the priority of that action. So when creating repeated actions, this will cause a small flag to appear next to the action name on the action list. And this priority that's displayed is transferred when you create a timer from the action in the future. What we're going to discuss shortly, you'll see how to edit and arrange actions on the list if you need to. But for now, let's create some timers from these actions. First thing that you want to do is place your mouse over the name of an action on the list. Okay, and this will cause the time bar to appear next to the action's name. Now move your mouse over the time bar and select a predefined time that represents the amount of time that you want to allot for this action, and then click. So I'm going to go ahead and choose 30 for this and click. This will create a timer from this action, which should say read news, but it says read new, but you get the point, right? So this will create a timer from this action based on the time choice that you selected. Now the time amount can be changed at any time, and for more information about how to do this, watch the video Working with Timers. But first, let's go ahead and repeat these previous steps to create additional timers from the actions on the action list. Okay, so this is just to familiarize yourself with the ease of creating timers from items on the action list. And we'll go ahead and create a 45-minute timer from that, and we'll create a 60 or 45-minute timer from that. So once you've added your own custom actions to a list, creating timers from them, as been demonstrated here, is really a breeze. At this point, you should have several timers shown on the interface, each one related to the custom actions that we added previously. Now you can just start a timer and go to work. Next, we'll be discussing managing action lists. But first, let's talk about this area right here, the scheduling of a daily success routine. Now you'll see at the bottom of the action list panel a yellow bar, special yellow bar shown right here. This bar identifies a very important action that you should include daily on your list of actions to complete, and that's going through a daily success program or routine. Now this action is given a special place on the interface because doing it is that important. So what is a daily success routine and why is it so important? Well, a daily success routine is simply the process where you set aside a little time each day, preferably in the morning before you start on anything else, to feel good, to get focused, to think about important things, to learn something new, and to review the direction your life and business are headed. And doing this process consistently is so important because living a life of excellence isn't the result of 1 or 2 things that you do every now and then, as a lot of people tend to believe, but excellence is the result of your habits, what you think about and feel on a regular daily basis. So a well-designed daily success routine trains you to achieve awesome results in life in much the same way daily practice and training turn good athletes into world champions or even Olympians. So where do you find a well-designed daily success routine? Well, when you create a timer from this particular action by clicking one of the links right here to the bar, to the right of the bar, the notes section of the timer contains a basic 7-step process, okay? And you can see it right there. Let me bring this up. Oops, wrong button. Let me click this here. And this will show you a simple 7-step routine based on a powerful and effective system that I've developed called the Day Launcher System, which you can get more information right here if you want. Now, while I'm obviously a big believer in my system, even if you choose not to use it, I highly recommend that you create and implement some sort of daily success routine in life. Okay, burn it into your brain that it's your daily habits, your routine, and what you feed your mind regularly that make you who you are and that largely determine the results that you get in your life. So get consistently better results by practicing a daily success routine. Okay? So let's talk about managing action lists. Now you've already seen how to edit the name of an action list. Now let's look at some of the other features that you have to manage your lists. Okay, so first of all, there is this button right here that allows you to search all your lists. So clicking this button will reveal a search window that allows you to do a search for a specific action. And this search functionality searches across all 50 action lists instantaneously. Okay? Next, there's the export button. And this allows you to export the current action list as a simple text file that you can use as a backup, or you can transfer to use on another computer, or you can share with another user of the action machine. So the actions and notes are preserved when you use this feature. Next, there's the import feature, which allows you to import an action list. There's the clear button. Then this clears the list of all actions, and it's important that when you use this to be aware that this action can't be done. So if you click this, it's something that takes action immediately and it cannot be undone. And finally, this link here will restore the default list of actions. So this automatically adds the items from the default action list to the current action list, allowing you to use actions from it as a starting point for maybe creating your own custom action list. Now, individual actions on the action list can be moved, edited, and more. Now, to perform a task within an individual action on a list, you first click to select it, and when you do, a toolbar will appear at the bottom of the action list panel right here. Okay, and here's what each of these tools do. This one, these two, let me move this. Okay, these two right here, these two buttons right here, move the selected action up and down on the list. This button right here opens the contents of the selected action, including its name and any notes, so that they can be edited. This will copy the contents of the selected action into the Add an Action and Action Notes boxes so that you can use it as the start of a similar or new action. And of course, this button right here deletes the selected action. Now, normally, when your mouse hovers over an item on the action list, a preview of the action and its associated notes will appear in the area where the action and notes are entered right here. But to display the action and its full notes, if there are any, simply control-click the action on the action list. So just do that. Control-click, and that will open up the full notes of the particular action and its action notes. Okay, and so that's working with actions. Thanks for watching.